have one? Do we have one?
You got one already? Yes, you do.
Or,
White bass, isn't it?
no, he's a largie. He's just not very big. First cast ever with the combat crank.
Yeah. Glad to see him hitting the crankbait.
Yep.
That didn't take long.
Nope. There he goes. That's one of the newer ones I got the other week. This is the first cast I ever made with it. Two for two.
Come on, Fred. What the heck's going on?
That's a little one there.
He's not much bigger than your other bait there.
No, he's really not.
What are you doing?
We're 2 for 2 on the combat crank.
Like, where are you going with him?
I was going to pull him up this way. He's under the boat.
Dang,
All right, here he comes. Here he comes.
Oh, yeah, he is nice. Oh, Jesus Christ, careful.
Oh, that's a hog right there.
Oh, man. Oh, hold on.
Look at that fish. What a beauty. Awesome. I'm here with the Evergreen Combat Crank, or the Evergreen CR Crank, as they're calling it for the US market. This is a bait that pretty much put Evergreen International, the company, pretty much put them on the map. This crank is widely regarded as one of the best in the world, actually. You guys know me. I like to fish crankbaits, so was really interested in trying it out. Evergreen actually made a deal with Daiwa to distribute to the US, so that's why we've seen some of their products popping up on Tackle Warehouse and places like that. Before, you had to get them pretty much from eBay or some sort of JDM site. Basically the only way to get your hands on one of these things. But now, seeing how they've got this deal with Daiwa, they're distributing their stuff over here, and we can finally get our hands on this thing. So let's run down the specs. First of all, this crank comes in a bunch of different sizes. I think there's 7 of them in total. There's the CR crank, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 13, and 16. I don't know why they have the 13 instead of like a 12 or a 14. I guess they put it in the middle, instead of, they'd gone in increments of 2 there. So that's a little interesting there towards the deeper ones. But anyway, you basically have, and mostly increments of 2, your different depths. So your 0.2 is 1 to 2 feet, 0.4, 3 to 4 feet, 0.6, 4 to 6 feet, 0.8, that's this one here, 6 to 8 feet, 10 is 8 to 10 feet, 13, 10 to 13, and 16 is 14 to 16 feet. Most of them 2 through 13 are about the same size. They're all about 2 1/4 inches, and then they're a little bit, I guess the 10 and the 13, 2 1/2, 2 3/4, and then the 16 is 3 inches in length. So they're all kind of, I wouldn't say small, but they're not giant crankbaits. You know, they're probably pretty close to average, maybe, you know, just a little on the small side. I've got a few baits for comparison. Here's a Spro rock crawler. You can kind of tell, pretty similar size to that. What else I have here? Here's a DT6. So you can kind of get an idea. You know, they're not the biggest crankbait around. They're just a tiny bit under what I'd say the average crankbait size is for a running depth like that. But these things are the real deal. You can see the hooks on there. They have that kind of brushed, kind of aluminum steel kind of color. They're not as dark as other hooks are. I'm not exactly sure, you know, what the specifics are of that hook. All I can tell you is it's very sharp, and they're strong. They're strong. These don't bend. I've got the same hooks on my my Evergreen topwater, the SB, and they don't bend out. And the crankbaits, they haven't bent at all either. So they're strong and they're sharp. Really like the hooks. The great baits. Let me get you a price real quick. I've got it pulled up on my phone here. $14.99. So they're a little pricey. They're still cheaper than like a mega bass, but you know, you're going to pay a premium. They're really nice looking, great finish. I like the way they look, the eyes on them and everything like that. They've got some cool color choices. This color here is called Queen Shad, and if you saw the clip at the front of the video, you saw I caught a fish on my first and second cast ever with this bait. So that's pretty awesome. That's a great way to start it out. The fish weren't super big, but still, if you can get a bite on your very first cast and your second cast, that's pretty awesome. That's a great track record. They have a really nice weight transfer system inside this thing. So for a small bait, you can absolutely launch this bait. It will cast extremely well, cast like a bullet. And they have a really nice action in the water when you kind of flick your rod tip and kind of jerk a little bit, or kind of vary your retrieve. If you kind of speed it up real quick, has just a really nice looking kind of erratic kind of movement that it does, and it's great at triggering strikes. We went out and we're really whacking them with this that day. Caught some bass on it, caught a bunch of white bass on it too. They were really reacting to this bait. But I'm going to keep this video kind of short. I'm not going to go too much, you know, more into it. Just to put it simple, the Combat Crank, or I guess the CR Crank they're calling it in the U.S., its reputation is true. It's one of the best crankbaits I've ever fished. You know, I have a lot of favorites. The rock crawler is, I mean, I guess if I had to just pick one bait that has been my favorite crankbait, it would probably be the rock crawler. Now this whole back row up here, here's one I fished a lot. I really like that color. You know, if I had to just pick one crankbait above all others, the rock crawler has been my go-to for a while. But I have to admit, the Combat Crank is a true challenger. I really love the way it fishes, and it comes in so many different running depths. I'm going to have to just get some more and try them out. I've only got one right now for this, you know, doing this video on it, but I wanted to go ahead and shoot a video and just let you guys know it was for real. But I will be buying some more of these, and if they fish as good as this one, it may become my #1, just because it comes in so many different running depths. That's you know, really awesome. So you guys take it easy, and if you're on Tackle Warehouse, check out the Combat Crank. It is a great bait. Oh yeah, let me show you what I'm throwing it on real quick. This isn't my traditional crankbait rod. The reel is, though. I usually throw a 6:3:1 gear ratio Corrado I. That's typically what I throw most of my kind of medium and square bill crankbaits on. This is on a 13 Fishing MB Black medium action rod. This one's a little shorter than I typically use. I think this is a 6'10", and I have braid on here. I don't typically use braid. I usually use fluorocarbon between 10-pound and 14-pound test, but I use this rod to throw some of my smaller topwater stuff. This is kind of my backup topwater rod, so I've got braid on it for now. But the braid really doesn't affect throwing these crankbaits too much, as long as you're not getting like as long as you're not throwing them super deep or anything. I think braid is just fine for square bills or stuff that's, you know, 6 foot, 8 foot. The braid really doesn't seem to hurt it or anything. Let's put it this way: I haven't missed any fish because of the braid, but I typically would use fluoro. But anyway, check out the Combat Crank. Awesome lure. I'm really liking it. I can't wait to try some more of these things out. I do have 2 of them. The other one my dad has tied up on his rod right now, but they're great. Check them out, and good luck out there.